Good evening. Good evening, peers, faculty, staff, and friends. My name is Randy Ferguson, and tonight I will be one of your hosts alongside with Zoe Sumner for the 2016 State of the Black Union. Now, some people might have asked, why did you name, why is this called State of the Black Union? And the reason why I named it because, I thought it sounded pretty cool, to change it up a little bit instead of saying Unity Forum. But the reason why me, Jarvis, Dr. Zebulon and Zoe have decided to rename it because we wanted to show unity and a sense of ownership that the black community is necessary, that the black community is necessary in Stony Brook University. We all sitting here in one accord because we know that we have power, we have the voice of Stony Brook University. And if we're not here, Stony Brook University isn't Stony Brook University, can you feel me? And also to let the community know that we are a powerful community and that these are the things that we have to, that we did more things that any other schools hasn't even done. So that's definitely a proud statement that I can say basically here, boasting. So it is an important event that you guys are sitting here, and I thank you guys for coming out and sitting on these chairs, even though there can be more people here. But knowing that you guys are here, you are going to be educated. You are going to be uplifted. You're gonna feel some tension that you think things should be done. But knowing that this is going to be influential, and that's the reason why we named this. So, and for this year only, and maybe next year, the State of the Black Union. Now, let's look at the positives that the black community has done in the past 2 years. In 2014, we had Black World revamped, and we had the March for Ferguson. And we got your six that was started by Deron Newman, that went pretty good. A lot of people took pictures and showed it a sense that back in 2014, there was only 6% of African Americans in Stony Brook University. And we showed that number to really symbolize saying that even though we got 6%, we're still a powerful force on campus and that nobody can tear us away. We could still do what we had to do from that. And with the Ferguson March, that was one of the first many marches that we have done here in Stony Brook and really took a significant hold in the Stony Brook community. Now in 2015, we had the Black History Month, Black History Month from last year, and we had a lot of significant speakers come out, such as Frederick K. Brunston, Kevin Powell, that did the Unity Forum here last year, and we also had Savon Glover that came out to Starlet Center to perform. And those events really helped change the way the black community was saw in Stony Brook. And also what we learned from that, we kind of took things to a whole nother level, in my opinion. From after that, we had two elected black women from USG that you guys have voted for, and their names are Chrisley Zamora and Chanela Obrenio, sorry for mispronouncing your name. Those two women have really solidified a way that USG is now run, and we have color in the office, because before then we didn't have a lot of people of color in USG offices. Now we do. So that really signifies the black community here in Stony Brook. After that, we had hashtag SBU for Ms. U. And basically, some people here that were sitting here was at that march back in November, and that really catapulted the black community in Stony Brook to a whole high another level, which came about many factors that Stony Brook wanted to change for us and that we had our voice in, and we was damn sure that we was gonna get these changes started. So first of all was the Caribbean food station that is right now in the Union. The grand opening is next week Wednesday. A lot of people was complaining like, why don't we have food that we had back home? Now here in Stony Brook, all we had to do is eat wraps and pizza and sushi and a lot of food that we don't like, But now we have something out there, and that was one of the first victories that we had coming from the Ms. U's March. After that was the start of the Black Student Union. Now the Black Student Union came together after the Ms. U March, and it was a few students that came to that one night, that one Wednesday night in the AFS library, which I was a part of, and a few people on the panel were a part of too. And together we created the Intramural Black Student Union, which I'll read just a real quick snippet of what of the union is that we will serve as a liaison, promoting activities of interest as well as cultural and educational beliefs to the Black student body. We're not here to step on CSO or ASU's foot. We're here to be inclusive to one another. And after that, President Stanley will release shortly a revised document on how to bring more diversity into Stony Brook University, which will pretty much touch the aspects of hiring faculty and staff of color, and many other factors that will come into Stony Brook. And now here with the State of the Black Union. But with all these positives comes issues that we have also faced. And I won't touch on it right now, but we'll touch on it when the panel comes on. But my question to you all, my brothers and sisters, is how secure are we in the Black community? Are we united in the sense that we're looking for each other's back? If I'm in trouble, would you have my back? When it comes to creating events that will entertain us, is it contradicting somebody's educational event? If I have an event that is teaching about police brutality, but yet there's also a banquet going on at the same time, how can we work that each other out? Even when Black student leaders has to go into Senate hearings and USG to fight for their budget, so that way their clubs that have been a staple in Stony Brook history and the Black community, that they won't disappear, like a few clubs that have, unfortunately. This is what we'll explore tonight. This is what we'll argue about. This is what we'll be heard about. This is where we come together and figure out what can we do to better ourselves and Stony Brook. You guys are witnessing history tonight, and we're gonna make a change tonight. Are we confident to say that the State of the Black Union is strong? Thank you. Now introducing to the stage my co-host, Zoe Sumner.
Good evening, everyone. Like you said, my name is Zoe Sumner, and I'm a junior here at Stony Brook University. I'm going to be introducing our lovely panel for this evening. First up, we have Jody E. Alekwe. Jody E. Alekwe is a senior and a business major here at Stony Brook University with the finance specialization. She's currently the cultural officer for African Student Unit and a member of the Diversity Professional Leadership Network. Next up, we have Christian Cole. Christian Cole is a sophomore with a major in health science and aspiring to be a pediatrician. At Stony Brook University, he is in the AIDS Peer Education Program, the vice president for Roosevelt Quad Council, a member of the Student African American Brotherhood, the Collegiate Science Technology Entry Program, and a Diversity Professional Leadership Network student. Next is Dominique Wolf. Dominique Wolf is a first-year multidisciplinary studies major studying women's studies, Africana studies, and sociology. She is currently a public relations officer for the Interim Black Student Union and a member of the Caribbean Students Organization. Dwayne Moore is a junior sociology major with a minor in Africana studies. At Stony Brook University, he is the PRO of Heritage and the president of the Interim Black Student Union. We are honored to have two moderators for our panel this evening, Dr. Zebulon Maletsky and Dr. Jarvis Watson. Dr. Zebulon Maletsky is an assistant professor for Africana Studies and History, and Dr. Jarvis Watson is the assistant dean of multicultural affairs. Please, can we have a round of applause for our panelists?
Good evening, everybody. We want to welcome all of you here and thank you for gathering with us. And we see that people continue to trail in as the evening goes, and we hope more will join us. But at the outset, we want to emphasize that it's not about numbers, it's not about quantity, it's about the folks who are here with us. And we can do much with small numbers if the people who are in attendance are inclined to do so. And so we really thank you for making the time this evening. We see more people continue to come in, for making the time to be with us this evening. I want to turn it over for a moment to my colleague and my co-chair, my worthy constituent,
Yes, sir.
Associate Dean Jarvis Watson.
Thank you, Dr. Molesky. Did everybody give it up for Dr. Molesky? All right. Also want to recognize the Africana Studies Department who is here with us right now. And I think we really couldn't have the type of impact with our student population if it wasn't for the marriage between the Office of Multicultural Affairs and Africana Studies Departments, which actually goes back about more than 20 years in regards to its strength on this particular campus. I also come to you not as a dean of students, one of the assistant deans of students. I also come to you as an alum to talk about the progression of what's been happening with African American students at Stony Brook University. We never had a situation where we were able to kind of utilize the resources that we have here on campus to talk to the bigger population. We were always at some type of adversarial type of connection with the student body. But then after a while, we started to realize we needed to do things a little bit differently. So we started to formulate, we started to organize, and that's when you started to have more diversity within some of the leadership that you have on campus. And so I think what we have is just another version of that happening right now. And I think that they should get a round of applause for the amount of progress they've made thus far. So please give it for our panelists that we have right now. Okay. So what we're going to do, Dr. Molesky and I are going to kind of go back and forth asking questions to the panel. And these questions that we're asking come from the students, for the students, by the students. And we want to make sure that we get their voices correct. We want to make sure we get their words correct, but like there's nothing better than asking the natural source or the first source to make sure that you understand where everyone's coming from. And like I said, Dr. Molesky, I think, eloquently kind of stated the fact that even though the numbers may not be where they are, the right people are in this room right now. So being that is, if you know that somebody should be here right now, definitely text them because we're going to be here for a little bit. There's definitely enough information that is going to be shared. We also want to thank the Wang Center for having us here today, as well as Bill Cusick and his staff. Are you waving your hands? I said they're waving their hands at the back. So we just want to make sure we give acknowledgement to them because it is a community and a family. So without further ado, we're going to kind of break this up in 3 different parts. One about the support that African American students, Latino students have on this campus, the budgeting aspects, as well as the programming that goes on throughout the campus lifetime and lifestyle. So we want to start with the support aspect of where the Black student, I guess, union or community is on campus. So I'll start with the first question. Where do you feel your support comes from as a Stony Brook University student leader or student in particular? I'm not sure who wants to start off with that question.
I guess I'll start. My name is Jody, again, for everyone. Where's my support from? I'm an EOP student, so if I have a problem, any issues, my first stop is the EOP office. With that being said, there's still other individuals on campus that I know I can go to if I need anything. Typically, it's the people that look like me those are my first go-to people if I need help. My general support at Stony Brook comment would be I feel there are a lot of universities who accept students of color. You get in, but don't realize that accepting us isn't the only thing. There's either educational gap, there's a financial gap, so accepting us isn't, I feel their goal is to let us in as opposed to supporting us for 4 years through college. So I think that's something that we're lacking at Stony Brook, but Stony Brook isn't the only institution that's lacking that support. So emotional support, I go to EOP. Financial support, I'll go to EOP. But everyone isn't EOP, unfortunately. So everyone doesn't have the connections or the relationships that I have. So what happens to my fellow students who don't have EOP? Who do they feel they are comfortable going to?
Okay.
Hello, thank you everybody for coming. My name is Christian Cole, and actually Jody, like she said, I'm actually not an EOP student, so I actually ask myself those questions every day. like who do I go to, who do I turn to, I need support, I have a question. So initially, my support comes from home. My mother, I'm fortunate to have a good parent, as well as my sister, who's in the audience today. So if I need advice, I am fortunate enough to ask those two resources. But now on campus, looking around, really, that question is difficult to answer. Who do you talk to? A lot of times you go to the office and your number, your ID swipe, you go in and then it's your turn when, and then you step up, what do you need? I don't know. I'm a freshman. I just got here. I just left high school. I'm now initially making decisions on my own. What do I do? And so I feel like as far as support, there needs to be a stronger focus on building individuals. And so when it comes to support, the first place I would think about is programs that focus on that, such as SOB. So I'm a member of the Student African American Brotherhood, and something that I joined my spring semester of my freshman year, and I noticed that a lot of things I needed, I was able to ask the upperclassmen that were there. And so I feel like the initial support should come from our fellow students, our fellow Stony Brook students. And the only way that you're able to connect in that level, because the academic program here is very rigorous, and so a lot of times it's difficult for us to make friends in our classes, and as well as it's always easier to make friends with people that look like you. I don't want to say that you should limit yourself to that population, but that's where your initial comfort zone is, and then you slowly take steps to step out of that comfort zone. And so programs such as well as EOP, they help build that initial community, and then you're able to feel like, okay, I can move out, I can speak to other people. And so that's what did it for me as far as that program. So joining SOB as well as C-STEP, which is another program. But anyone else?
We also just want to emphasize that there's a lot of questions, and some of you may want to choose and respond to different things. If this one moves you, then by all means feel free to respond, and we have plenty of questions here.
I thank you again for coming out. I'm a transfer student. This is actually my second semester on campus. Luckily they had ADV 101, which actually one of the advisors are actually here today. But I have to say, if you're a commuter, live at Brookhaven, or if you're just a new student here, you can easily get lost in the tracks and you can slip through. Being at Brookhaven, which is an outside residential hall, which is 30 minutes away, where they house the transfers who want to stay on campus, I've seen probably at least 10 people, maybe like 5 to 10, who haven't returned. Because there's not enough attention given to them. So while I've kind of found my home in the African Studies department, there's definitely a lack of support for a lot of students. Unlike myself, I actually went out to, search for those opportunities, but for a lot of students, it's just not there. So I think that's definitely an issue at Stony Brook.
Yeah, that's actually a perfect segue to the next question, and you can keep it flowing. As I said, we can kind of, as opposed to having everybody answer each question, we can kind of kick it back and forth, and if you feel, I'm sure as we go along, there'll be questions that people will have to wrestle the mic from you and all that. But we know that the research tells us that for students of color in college, having a role model, having a faculty connection, an administrator that as someone said, that looks like you, in reference to students, having administrators or faculty that also look like you, also play a role in this more recent season of activism on campus. We hear constantly students renewing that call and saying, we need more faculty administrators that reflect us, that look like us, that come from where we come from. How would you rate, where we are at Stony Brook on that score? And I'll just sort of read the question as written. How different do you think the connection with faculty/administrators would be if there was an increase in Black and Latino professionals on campus?
I could. talk about that. Again, my name is Randy. Real quick, for a show of hands, who's from the city? All right, who's from Long Island? All right, anybody from out of state? All right, cool. So, somebody that from the audience, who's from the city? Teachers, are they primarily people of color or primarily white? Color, right? From Long Island, who are your teachers primarily are? Some are white, some are colored, depending on which county you live in. So basically, Suffolk County is like primarily white. Now it's always primarily people of color. Agreed? All right. And then people from out of state, primarily color or white? White. Interesting. Okay. So here's my thing. Stony Brook, in a general aspect, is doing the right way of how teachers should be presented, or professors should be presented in America. But when it comes to people of color who lived in the city, we're more generic, more approach to seeing people of color. And I think that because I'm from the city too, so when I see a white professor, I'm like, whoa, I'm not sure I'm gonna talk to him, I'm not sure I'm gonna, be around him like that. But when it comes to a person of color professor, I'm like, I'm gonna be with him all the time. I'm gonna talk to my man Zeb, or talk to Dr. Walters. I'm more comfortable around them. So in a sense, yes, students of color do need a professor that looks like them, so that way they can feel more comfortable going to that professor and just talking about life or jobs or the reason why they're in that career. So Stony Brook is not doing a good job with getting that, but hopefully with the president coming out with his revision of diversity, that he'll push for more support of professors of color.
Oh, Jody.
I would just say, just in addition to what Randy said, besides like feeling comfortable in a classroom, I feel like we need more professors, professionals, faculty members of color, because for motivational reasons. I don't want to, yes, I'm comfortable if I walk into a classroom, my professor is black, but at the same time, if I'm walking into a classroom, I'm a finance major. Everyone in my class is a white male. So if I'm walking into a classroom and my professor is an African-American female, then I know I can, obviously I know I can do it if I'm in the classroom, but I have that extra push that I can do it because the person that's teaching the entire class looks like me. And I can say the same for a lot of my friends who are in the medical field. If they walk into a classroom and they see African-American female or male as their teacher, that gives them the push, if they can do it, I can do it, which is something we should already have in our mind. That should be a mindset you should already have, but it doesn't hurt to have someone who looks like you teaching you, and that's really not the norm here, especially I'm saying in certain majors, not the norm in certain majors. My major, at least.
Sorry.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with Jody. I'm an English major in the teacher certification program, so after I graduate, I'll be certified to teach 7th through 12th grade. And the majority of the teachers that I've had for English have been male and white. I was able to take one English class so far with a black professor. That was Dr. Tracy Walters. I low-key stalked her since my last class with her. Now she knows that. But because of those classes, that's when you're able to see, like Jody said, you're able to see people that have gone the route that you want to go and they are successful at it. So if I have a question about, okay, when I'm in the workplace and I'm in this situation, have you ever dealt with that? What are certain things that you can do with that? I can't necessarily ask that to my white male professors because they don't know the experience of a black woman in the education field. They can probably sympathize, but if they don't know the experience, they can't be as much of a help. So it's definitely important when you keep going higher and higher in your education and to learn to solidify what you want to do to have those people to look up to.
All right. Those are excellent points, and I think that you all are really speaking to some major themes. I think since Dr. Tracy Walters has been mentioned a couple times, could we acknowledge Dr. Tracy Walters real quick? Who's the chair of Africana Studies. You're not going to stand up?
Show that nice shirt that you have on too. Show that nice shirt. That's a nice shirt.
She's here, and that says so much. That says a lot right there, and so many of other faculty and administrators who are with us. The next question on the list here is, amongst the black student population, what do you think the level of care or awareness is towards the Africana Studies Department. Please explain the benefits and/or consequences. So I guess, okay, how is Africana Studies? I'm in Africana Studies, I think we mentioned, and we also have Dr. Shamelis Golema here with us, another faculty member we should also recognize as well. In other words, we're here. But maybe, anyway, why don't we just speak to that question next? Yes.
Yes, I would love to answer this question. As everyone who was present in that first meeting, following the forum that we had with the president, that was my first time ever being in the Africana Studies section of the school. I didn't even know that building, the floor. I didn't know the AFS library existed, and that's actually pretty unfortunate. And it's not my fault. I'm studying health sciences, and I want to be in the medical field. So as far as the way my degree requirements are lined up, it doesn't help me to take any AFS classes. It doesn't fit. It does not help me to graduate in 4 years, as I've been told since I got here. So it's unfortunate that part of my degree, part of my college experience, my undergraduate education, I'm not receiving the full diversity that I can, the full scope of education that is offered at this university, because it's not necessary, essentially. It's not considered, it doesn't apply to my major. And then, as you know, I definitely am a TAP student, and I need TAP. And then if courses are not in my requirements, then I really cannot afford to take those, literally. And so that's just unfortunate, and that's something that I actually expressed. It would be something that I would look forward to seeing, that degree requirements be expanded, so that AFS classes where I can study about my own history would be, I guess, stretched to the point where the curriculum would cover several SBCs, because I'm a sophomore, so I'm on the SBC track, and it would be that maybe an AFS class would be a HFA plus or something like that, where I can still progress my degree, but as well as get the opportunity to take these classes that allow me to study something that I really should be privileged to know.
Yeah, that's very well put. Thank you.
I think that, just to say bluntly, the exposure of the African Studies Department in Stony Brook is pretty poor. I just feel that, after the Mizzou situation, we went to the president and we said, how can we better, stop things like this, like Mizzou, from happening? And one of the things that we came up with was education. It's obvious. And learning about different cultures and learning what oppression is and learning what racism really is key. And that was not happening. And a lot of that happens at the Africana Studies Department. So within, talking to the president, we came to the conclusion that we need to expand it. We needed to make it bigger. We need to make sure that people know about it. And I also brought up that issue being a member of the Arts and Sciences Advisory Board. So I think it's definitely heard that AFS is not known as it should be. A lot of students, I'd say, I'm an AFS minor, what is that? Or people who say, oh, that's irrelevant. And that's simply not the case. They don't know what to do about it, and the support around really pushing it out and the importance of it isn't made. So I think we all have a place to do that, or part that we have to make sure that hopefully one day the AFS department at Stony Brook could be the best one in the country. But for the time being, I think we definitely need to make sure we put an emphasis on making sure that it's known that it's important.
Thank you.
Oh,
sorry.
Hi, thank you guys for coming. I'm Dominique again. But I actually came into the school intending to be a business major. I didn't see the importance of studying Africana studies just because I didn't know what I'd do with it. I was like, I can study it, but what am I going to do with that? How is that going to make me money? And a lot of the times, people don't take the time to educate people about the fields that you can go into studying Africana studies, or even a major like women's studies. Like, people don't see a liberal arts major like that being important or something that you can be successful in. And I think a part of getting people to want to be Africana studies major is also having people talk to the students about what jobs they can get or what field they can go into. Because it's not that there aren't jobs, it's just the health sciences are pushed, or the business is pushed, or majors that are more easily, like, I don't know how to phrase this without being, but yeah, the majors that seem like they are for sure success. So it's also a issue in the Black community as far as what is pushed like within our culture, as far as like, you can only be successful if you become a doctor, or you can only be successful if you start your own business, or something like that. But it's also educating about people about like what jobs you can get studying these things, and the importance of studying yourself. Because I was a history nerd in high school, but that didn't mean that I was studying myself. It meant that I was studying European history or the history of America that wasn't really about my people or people that look like me. And it has to be expressed that it's important to study your actual self. It's important to study the things that really do relate to you and the things that shape your experience in the world and at this university.
Yeah, thank you. This is all very valuable, and I think that it's good to hear. I was just thinking as you were talking, receive emails from students who are a little bit ahead of where you all are, or I guess graduates of Stony Brook, who will write back, and I think we all get these kinds of emails occasionally. You know, I didn't realize it at the time, but your class, you know, sort of opened my mind or opened my eyes to something that now I see that it's very important. And these, I usually get these from students going to social work or law or you know, certain fields like that, education, obviously. And so the thing that we sometimes work with in terms of Africana studies, especially in the 21st century, because you know, things are changing, is how can we remain relevant? How can we remain connected? How can we make that connection between job and study a little bit more strong? And also to remind everybody that Africana studies is not just for Africana descended students, it's for everybody. You know, because what Africana studies is really about is understanding the world. Look at the world we're living in. We have a Black president, Black Lives Matter. The Super Bowl was so black the other day, some of us didn't know what to do with ourselves. You had to take the Africana Studies class just to know what was happening. So you know, but we appreciate that. We do appreciate that feedback, and I can tell you with confidence, it's something we're working on to make that connection stronger. So we really do appreciate that feedback.
Yeah, I know when I was an alumnus here, I met some of my best friends in the Africana Studies classes, and not because we were sharing the same notes, but we had that same aha moment. Like we were like, oh, I didn't know that. I've been talking to some alumni that were here before me, and they said the Africana Studies department actually helped her program computers. Like Africana Studies, computer programming. But it was like a safe haven for a lot of students to go to, and the skill set that a lot of the Africana Studies professors had was beyond the historical aspect. It was like these multifaceted skill sets that they had, and they weren't stingy with it. They actually helped students out to understand that when you leave this place, you're going to use these skills in a place where you can be successful. So I think that the fact that we still have this lineage going on and how important Africana studies is, I think is something that we really need to definitely support, continue to support. And like I said, it's for everybody. And I think we just need to make sure we kind of fill those seats up a lot more, because we have some great people that I've been blessed to have as far as colleagues. And I want to lead that to in regards to friendship, because I see a lot of you all like really in your pockets and things like that, and your cliques and your groups and the people that you hang with. But how would you rate the level of togetherness and community amongst the Black student population here at Stony Brook University?
I'll say something about
Okay.
that. That's a good question. There's cliques, obviously. You should go out there You see little pockets of everybody just, standing around with one another talking. Even if you go to like CSO events or ASU events, you will see people sitting with each other of the same cliques at the same time, and nobody's really dispersed like that. Sometimes I'll go sit with somebody else different and try to start up a conversation, but people nowadays, they don't want to talk to. You would think, like, if I try to talk to a female I'm sitting next to, she would be like, oh, why you trying to talk game to me? Like, I'm just trying to be your friend. We're here in college. It's meant to say right, Okay. But here's the thing. That's the thing, right? It's different, right?
Clean it up.
But that's the thing. Wow. That's the thing. It's like we're not really recognizing where we all should come together, because again, as I was saying earlier, if I'm out on the street and I get jumped or something, would you got my back? So I feel like we're together, but not together. You see, these, as you said, these seats should be filled, and if we was really together, we would hit up this person and that person to really come out and understand what was going on today about self-conscious, about black self-conscious, black Stony Brook community conscious here. But we're not together, and that's a problem, and that's something we have to fix to be able to move on with what Stony Brook is trying to put us down with. And I'm not saying no conspiracy stuff or anything like that, but again, togetherness is all that matters. Because at the end of the day, if I got you and you got me, we're gonna move up to higher levels.
How would other panelists like to address the same issue?
Yeah, I always have something. Like Randy was saying, there's a lot of times, a lot of events where we're together, but we're not united. So people do not, affiliate themselves with certain people who have certain characteristics or certain attributes. There's a lot of division, and it's just we don't support each other, and it's sad. Like when we come to events, there should be, as you said, it should be filled. It shouldn't be, I want my program to be so much better than yours that I won't attend yours so that it looks like you had a bad program. Like it should be that we're contributing, and that everyone is ultimately, contributing to everyone's experience here at college. We come to learn, we come to make friends, we come to meet people, and if we are not helping each other, no one's going to help us. So if we're not helping each other, then we're literally not moving forward at all. And we have problems like today where when it comes to standing up for ourselves or any sort of like systematic oppression that we may face, we can't really resolve it because we're not united, we're not one voice. There's many voices that are pulling from different directions, and as they say, many hands stir the pot, so it doesn't work.
Okay, so I will even jump into this portion because I'm just looking at the time as well. I'm not sure if everyone's going to kind of share the same sentiment, but solution-based wise, what steps do you think you or the community needs to take in order for you all to be more unified or be more together? And that means just friends amongst friends, groups, organizations, clubs, as far as vast as you need to go in this particular solution-based track. What steps need to be taken in order for things to be more unified on campus?
I think that's one of the initiatives of our interim BSU, is to help kind of be like an umbrella so that different orgs have one unified organization that can help better help talk to administration and different things for us. I feel like a lot of times there are a lot of different voices that go different ways. And sometimes people want to join more for a party than when it comes to actually helping us move forward on campus when it comes to the business side of things. So I think the startup of a BSU, what we saw was there needs to be one group that everyone could kind of come to help fight for different things that we need on campus. Whether that is more black professors, whether that is more funding, whether that's just a fairness of how we are treated on campus. There are some things that go on campus that shouldn't happen. And a lot of times if you're a commuter, whether you're someone at Brookhaven or you're someone that's new, you may not know where to go to. And I feel that the interim BSU should kind of be like that name where it's like, well, if I'm a minority student or if I'm a white student and I need one organization to go to help fight for us, that's how I'll go to. So I feel like that's the steps that we've taken as students to help kind of fix that issue that we see is so prevalent on this campus.
I think one thing that we all need to realize is how much power that we have when we are united and are united front. With everything that happened in Mizzou again, the reason why their changes happened so fast is because all of them got together. I mean, there could have been a couple people that were in the room, but as we saw from what we could see, that there was the majority of them were outside, they were protesting, and they were all saying the same things. I think especially with this semester happening with the union closing down and a lot of people being pushed out of their practice spaces and meeting times, we're all having the same problems, but if we're not all talking about it together, we're basically all complaining. And if we're all complaining, then nothing is getting solved. So if we're able, like Dwayne's saying, if we're able to all come together with the same issues, the same problem, and be able to voice that to our administration, to people who actually have the power to change things instead of each other, that's when we'll be able to realize that we can change our university. This is our university. We pay to go here. Our experience here matters. So if we're having a bad experience, we need to be able to voice that and express that. And if we don't voice and express that, then nothing's going to change.
I pretty much agree with Zoe. I was going to say that I feel like we do, it's not that we're not united. I want to disagree with Randy and say that we are united as a black community, like a student body. I feel like we're very united, but the problem we have is the drive. So like we said, when we did the demonstration in front of admissions, everyone was there because there was something that was happening right now and people were feeling it at that moment. So everyone came together. The problem is that 2 weeks later, everyone, that drive is gone. It's like, okay, we did that already. Like, I'd say, the reason that happens is a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good reason why, the reason why we don't have the drive is because nothing has happened at Stony Brook to make, like we haven't had a Mizzou at Stony Brook. Like no, nothing that intense has happened at Stony Brook, which is why as a community, I'm gonna say everyone, does not have that same drive and motivation. The negative side of that is that just because it hasn't happened yet, doesn't mean that it won't happen. The point is to try to avoid that from happening. And I feel like as a black student body, we have this, like I'm gonna use myself, like, not that I feel this way, I'm gonna use myself as an example and say, okay, I'm a senior, I'm graduating. What is possibly gonna change in the next couple of months? This has nothing to do with me, so you guys can handle this. And I feel like if we all have that attitude, then you end up with 4 or 5 people trying to do the work for everyone. The problem isn't that Stony Brook, the administrators and people higher up in Stony Brook aren't willing to change. The problem is that we're not saying anything to them. Like Zoe said, I can't sit and complain to Zoe 24/7 because what is Zoe gonna do for me? The problem is that we need to come together and decide, okay, we can sit in a room and complain all day, but then at the end when we're done like venting, we come, okay, what are we gonna do next to actually change something? And so I do think we're united, but I just think we just need to take that extra step to do something with it as opposed to arguing all day or complaining all day or, because exactly what Dwayne said, look at what has been able to happen just from people saying, hey, this is what we think students at Stony Brook need. You know what you need I know what I need as an African-American student. My white dean does not know what I need as an African-American student. So he cannot sit and say, okay, I think Jody might need X, Y, and Z. It's up to you to say, this is what I need, and this is what my peers need. If you guys aren't saying that, then nothing's gonna happen. If nothing happens, you can't complain. And you can't say that because you're not affected, you're not gonna be affected before you graduate, then you don't care because you have brothers, you have sisters, there's the next generation of people coming to Stony Brook, and I would hope you would want their experience to be better than yours at Stony Brook. So to answer the question, we're missing the drive. And if we find that drive and that motivation and bring that out of everyone, I think change can happen. We're together. We just need to be motivated constantly.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. You know, I think a lot of times one problem is when we talk about unity, just this word, I mean, this is the Unity Forum. Sometimes we interpret that to mean that we all have to be the same, right? Or like oh, I have to agree, or that all of us have to agree about everything. And that could be, no further from the truth. We don't always all agree. There's for just as every different kind of person that there is, and every way of being black, there are different ways of feeling and thinking. I mean, you have Stacey Dash, on one extreme, right? She's entitled to her opinion. Yeah. So, she's wrong, but, obviously. But we have that. But, don't think that there aren't folks on this campus. We have a very interesting situation here at Stony Brook. You got suburban and urban, like Randy was saying. You got black folks and other groups on this campus who grew up maybe in affluent situations, who grew up with parks and lawns and night. We can't make assumptions about where people come from. So that's also going to throw a little bit of a wrench into the work. So Stony Brook's a very interesting mix. It's a little different from, say, like a lot of other schools. Last thing I want to say, that Mizzou situation. When you all did that, I can't remember what the name of the list was, but they did a list of the different schools that responded.
Demands.org.
Yeah, Stony Brook was like number 2 on the list.
Oh, no, that was Blavity.
Blavity is the one I'm talking about.
We were actually number 1.
It was number 1. We should clap for that. That was number 1. So maybe there was some disunity, or some people didn't show up, or maybe 2 weeks, but the world doesn't know that.
Right.
The world and the internet knows Stony Brook was one of the number 1 responses in terms of that moment, and it produced the BSU. And so, you all do have that momentum that I think should really carry you forward and stuff like that.
Thank you, Dr. Molesky, and thank you, Jody, and the other panelists for your wisdom and insight on support. So now you want to go to areas of programming. Before we go a little further, also want to introduce my boss, since you talked about Dr. Walters. I'm going to introduce Cheryl Chambers, Associate Dean for Multicultural Affairs. Everyone give her a round of applause sitting right there. All right. Oh yeah, I'm coming. I saw it. He has a shirt on too. Yeah, I got to warm up there, Dr. Walters. But see, she has my back. I like that. That's unity. Okay, but Cheryl Chambers has been really integral in making these unity forums happen. We were doing these about 4 or 5 years ago, and the fact that it died down for a little bit and it kind of resurfaced, and we have to make sure we pay respect to those who started this initiative in the past. And she's like, no, don't talk about me, Jarvis. I'm gonna talk about you, that's what I do, all right. But we also have our Dean of Students here to support us as well. And could you stand up, Dean Eklund? Because he has that nice shirt on again, together we will rise, all right. And that is our theme next to our major theme for Black History Month, Sankofa. And then our co-theme is Together We Will Rise. I see another person with another shirt on, looking very nice, all right. But in that same aspect, I think that in the part of being together, I think there are a lot of variety of different organizations on campus, and in regards to programming as well. It's kind of hard to pick and choose which one to stay late for, which one to go to, and sometimes there's these we call intersections, or sometimes where we have these blocks and intersections where the programming is sometimes at the same time. And I think sometimes as students, you have shared with me the difficulty of trying to negotiate which program I should go to. Should I go to this program or that program? I'm gonna go for this one for half an hour, this one for an hour. And like I said, these are all things that even when I was undergrad, we had problems with and challenges with. But once you go to these programs, you get so enriched. Some are educational, some are social, but when you walk out of there, you feel like there's a sense of community. So since we're on the aspect of unity, how can these organizations coexist with one another without having conflict with each other's events? What type of steps can we take toward that, or what do you think the origin of that issue is, and how can we move forward? Yeah.
I feel that it's a lack of communication. Sorry, in case you didn't hear me, I feel that it's a lack of communication as far as between the orgs go and between like the programming that happens. Just recently, last week on Tuesday, there was a meeting with the Black Women's Association at the same time as the African Students Union, and I had to choose between which one I wanted to go to, and I ended up going to the African Students Union general body. And
Is somebody favorite issue here?
and
okay,
I
okay, all right.
would really love to be able to go to were both, and the fact that they were at the same time makes it extremely difficult. And it's like, I don't want to show loyalty to one organization more than another, but if I have to choose, I'm going to choose whichever one I feel like going to, but I shouldn't have to make that choice. It should be okay, like yesterday, there was Heritage, and then there was African Student Union, and then there was later on, later on the Sigma fraternity had an event at around 10 o'clock. And because those events were sequential, because they were planned out and they weren't interfering with one another, I got to go to every single event and participate. And there needs to be more communication as far as, like, when are you having your event? What is it going to be about? Will it interfere with my event? Are you guys going to come and show out and support my event? So that there isn't conflict and that there's more unity between organizations.
I'm going to say I'm a part of ASU, and I just want to say on our end that has been an issue, and things we've done, we'll say, okay, let's say BWA is having a meeting at the same time. What are we talking about next week? Is there any way we can, first of all, our meeting, the times are only an hour now anyway. So it's like, okay, is there a way we can combine, we can work with BWA, so now we have a 2-hour slot, we have the same audience, but then the problem with that is, okay, well, we have 304 and BWA has 305. So the only way we can really collab is if we do the first hour in our room and then move everyone over to the BWA room, because those rooms are assigned to other clubs afterwards. So I definitely understand where she's coming from, and I can only speak for ASU because I'm a part of ASU. I know on our end, collabing is something that we look to every week. It's okay, this club is doing X, Y, and Z, especially if we don't have a topic yet. But like, okay, what are you guys doing? Do you need the space? Like, we know we're trying to work with each other, but then the rooming situation is another problem that we run into. Like, we are willing to collaborate, but if that's not possible, then it turns into the problem where, like, now she has to choose. You're gonna come to our event or you're gonna come to their event. But yeah.
Okay. Anybody else want to add, or that's pretty, yeah, so.
Yeah, we also want to emphasize that we have a lot of our student leaders here in the audience right now with us as well, and we see faces. We know folks are here with us as well, and we're going to have a portion of tonight we're going to have some Q&A. Is that correct? And we're going to have some dialogue. So get your questions or points and things ready, because we do want this to be a conversation ultimately. The next, I guess, question on the list here is sort of along those same lines. If we agree that unity is important, that students and the organizations need to be united, that we're stronger working together than we are working apart, and I think we all agree on that. I guess, again, kind of like going with what Dr. Watson was saying, getting to solutions, how do we get there? What would winning look like? What would it look like to win on the unity front? What would unity look like in your mind? And, so you can speak to that question. How can we strengthen the unity within the clubs and organizations? What would that look like?
Sure, definitely, as what Dominique and Jody said, communication. That's always key. It's always key in a relationship. It's always key to a professor and a student. Communication. Can't stress that enough. But every time when there's a unity forum comes around, there's this one group or one request that keeps getting thrown around every single year when it comes to conversations like this, the Black Caucus. Now, for some of you guys that don't know what the Black Caucus is, it's basically an idea that was tried once but failed even before the semester started, was that every single Black and Latino org comes together on that one summer day before class start, looks at the calendar and says, okay, I'm picking this day to do my event, I'm picking this day to do my CSO fashion show, I'm picking this day to do my ASU fashion show, this is Latin weekend, this is that. That idea has been thrown on so many times, and it's been felt so many times, and I'm still gonna bring it back up again, because I think that we need a caucus for everybody to come together, because I don't wanna hear again CSO for Bar Money Night that we put down on a Black History Month, and then Sigmas and Thetas and LTAs are having another event at the same time. I don't want to hear that again, because I think that's putting CSO's time and effort of planning something way ahead that the Sigmas and LTAs could have said, okay, we'll do this on another day. I understand rooms and student activities, I know we'll get into later, give them the space and time to do the event. But again, that's where that unity and communication needs to come into. So I'm gonna throw that caucus idea out again. Hopefully, maybe with the help of BSU or something like that we can all try to come together, especially with some of us student leaders who are seniors, are leaving, and gotta bring in a new e-board. Maybe this is something that we have to pass down to the new generation of Stony Brook and saying, hey, if we're gonna try to be unified with one another, it's time for us all to come together and talk about what we wanna do here in Stony Brook instead of sabotaging one another.
Yes, just to speak on the last part that Randy mentioned, I think something that's necessary is more like leadership building. I guess that's what winning would look like, building effective leaders. So it's more of eliminating like the complacency of membership in these clubs. So a lot of times, you know, I joined a club, it's on my resume, but I don't really do anything. I don't contribute. My voice isn't heard when I'm there. I go to the G-Body, and it's like I'm fighting to just get a word in. So it's like, with that case, there should be more of a passing of the torch, sort of, to speak. We have seniors like Randy who are involved in a lot of programs, things like that. And then you have up-and-coming students who are looking to get their foot in the door, looking to sort of become more involved and more of a key member in whatever club that they're in. And so it should be up to, I guess, like our upperclassmen as well as our advisors, club advisors, that they help facilitate the needs for those, the younger generation coming up, so that they may grow with the club and there will be longevity. So I think that's really what's key to winning, so to speak. Just being able to increase involvement and what it looks like to be a member of your respective club.
Yeah. I just, just along those lines, I think I'd be remiss not to just throw this out there, and I know we don't have too much time left, but one thing that some students, and Randy, you mentioned when you talked about this idea of doing a meeting in the summer, you mentioned a lot of organizations, some of whom are like more, I guess, would be like Latino organizations. That whole question is something that comes up again and again. I've had Latino students, my own students, who are kind of like, very passionate, very committed to Black issues, to the Black struggle. They're in Africana studies. That's usually how I meet them, and they have, it's case by case, it's different. But some folks have talked about not feeling always connected enough, or like, here's someone who's really wanting to be part of a alliance, so to speak, a Black-Brown alliance, I guess we would call it. What about our, the Black and Brown brothers and sisters in terms of trying to get together? Like, how does that? That's a big one for the end, but is that since you mentioned, the different organizations, and I think we had that in here somewhere too. Yeah. How do we envision that and make room, I guess, for that kind of unity? Amongst or between groups that are connected. Here in New York, you have a long history of Black and Latinos together, so I guess that's where that comes from. Maybe we could speak to that.
I think it just starts with everyone understanding that they're one, and understanding that we all similarly share struggles in some type of fashion. A lot of people like to separate themselves from different things or try to run from different stigmas. But if everyone understands that they're one, it really makes everything easier to be glued together. I think specifically within the Hispanic Black community, there's a lot of unity, but there's also a lot of divide. And a lot of divide a lot of times comes from running away from different aspects of what they are, and a lot of that comes from a failure of education. So I think that comes from having important G-bodies to where people are discussing what it really is to be Black, what it really is to be Hispanic, and kind of bridging those divides. And I think that's been happening in a lot of the G bodies that I went to, but it definitely needs to be more, it needs to be expanded, definitely, to where the discussion can go deeper and it can go longer. I don't think an hour is going to solve, you know, the issues between the Hispanic and Black community. But if it's a theme that is continued within different groups, I definitely think that problem can be you know, done with. This is also a great segue into the BSU. I think that's also an important part of BSU is within getting different groups together that have differences and bringing them to the table. Every group has a different motive. Every group has a different thing that they're aiming for. But if BSU was to act as that one group to where everyone can come together, I think that would help, you know, solve a lot of problems. Because if individual groups are coming, you know, fighting each other, they have different things that they're trying to, you know, gain and different things that they don't want to lose. But if BSU can act as that moderate table to where everyone can understand, hey, we're all one, and if we fight each other, we'll lose on this campus, we won't gain anything, then I think that would be pivotal to our advancement on on this campus and getting things done successfully. So I think it really starts with just everyone understanding that we're one and that we're not moving anywhere unless we're all together.
Right.
Yeah, I have to agree with Dwayne. I think it also starts with support from each side. It's very obvious when ASU or CSO has a fashion show, like there's always a line, it's always very well attended. But if LASSO puts on a fashion show, there are a lot more empty seats, and I know because I've always gone to both. And it's hard for, I'll just say from my personal experience, I feel for Black people to come outside of like their box. They like to do what is comfortable, what they like, what they know. And if it's something that's foreign to them, it's like, well, I'm not really interested in that. Well, I'm not actually going to go to that event. And that's just seen, I don't necessarily believe everyone has that mentality, but it's seen because people aren't going to these events. One of my favorite things that happened last semester was Compa Night. LASSO and HSO came together. They had an event. We danced merengue, we had bachata, we had compa. We did all of it, and it was great because it was all these different cultures coming together that I'm not necessarily a part of. I'm African American, so I'm American, but I learned about so many different things just in that one night because of that collaboration. So I definitely think there should be more events like that, but it's also not on the people who are running these clubs to make that happen. We also have to come out and support these groups because they won't feel it's necessary to have anything like that if we're not going to come.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's well put. And for the Black Caucus, is that something that BSU could do? I mean, we'd solve that right now.
Yeah, that's actually like a nice segue to this part of the discussion. And more in the aspect of, it seems like y'all are leading toward the whole Black Caucus. This is, you know, the Black Student Union, you know, and maybe say Black and Latino, you know, kind of Black and brown type of connections there. But as you do scheduling and you do programming and things like that, how can a Black Caucus or a Black Student Union work more closely with the Student Activities Office to kind of help make sure there aren't these intersections or these accidents that happen, and, you know, to make these intersections meaningful when you actually do programming? So I don't know if anybody wants to address or tackle that.
I think the purpose of the Black Student Union or Black Caucus would be that middleman. It would be the person that would, a person from an organization would come to the BSU. It's like, I'm having this issue, I'm having this problem. I've gone to student activities on my own accord and nothing's been done. Can you try something? And I think coming from an organization that is based on the help of all of student and cultural organizations at the university, it would help push that. Right now in the BSU, we're helping to make sure we're making those connections in administration, in terms of deans, administration, the SAC, and USG. We're making those connections so they're familiar faces. If you only go to the treasurer once every couple of months, they're not going to know you. But if I'm going to the treasurer every other week saying, hello, how are you? And making sure that they know my face, so when I actually go up to them and say, well, we're having this problem in this certain organization, then our voice will be heard. I think that if we have that middleman, a lot of things will get done better because they'll have more of a common face than just people walking in and out of their office.
All right, excellent.
I also think that something that's necessary is a little bit of transparency as far as like administration. So a lot of people don't know what specific offices are dedicated for A lot of people don't know where the student activities office is, and so things like that, you don't really know what a USG meeting looks like and what goes on. So you come here and then you don't find out how things work, therefore you're less likely to try and make something work. And so I feel like, you know, some sort of program where just plainly things are explained, how things work, order of events, that could be something that is beneficial towards future programming and creating events.
Okay. Anybody else want to add? I think that was I'll give a round of applause for that. I think that was done very eloquently. Yeah. Actually, yeah, great segue into the whole budgeting aspect of what you all are talking about. I know sometimes we talk about, I can hear people moving in their chairs already, just like, But I think it's something that needs to be talked about because it's been talked about in different pockets. And we as deans and administrators and even faculty, we hear these conversations on a regular basis. So to kind of bring these kind of issues in this particular forum. As we're talking about the issue, we're talking about unity, you're talking about how to come together. Some of you have shared about your concern about the budget cuts and how it affects Black clubs and organizations on campus. And I want you all to be able to kind of share with your peers and administrators here about what historically that's been like in regards to programming, practicing, trying to plan for the year, you know, what kind of things have transpired during that time. And then the other question you all had was, you feel that there's a lack of support and information that USG provides to you all. So how does that affect you all as African American Black clubs on campus as far as those three particular areas? Yes.
Sure. So can I say a little facts? Like, so little, I'm a numbers guy, so I just gotta throw numbers out there for y'all. USG, yeah, thank you. I'm gonna stand. My legs are getting tired. So USG has been notoriously known as, you know, to really cut budgets from time to time, primarily Black clubs, and sometimes it hurts us. So I did a little digging. So in 2014, 2015, when USG had their budget, when they made their budget, now altogether total for the Black clubs, we had $85,831.31. That's all the Black clubs. That's the ASU, CSO, HSO, NABA, Heritage, Gospel Choir, throw some names out there, BWA, a lot of Cadence. Those clubs made up that 85 G's a year. Now, last year, when there's a lot of confusion going on. From what I heard was that USG did not really send a lot of information about the next budget revisions for the next year. And what happened was that their date to put in for the budget was the previous year. So not a lot of clubs put their budgets in because they didn't know when was the date, which resulted in a lot of clubs not getting budgets. Even WUSB, the radio station, didn't get a budget until they had to go back and fight for it. And then I know a few clubs suffered from it too. And from this year, it went down to $65,638.14. Now that's a deficit of $20,193.17 for total for the Black clubs. 20 G's lost from us like that. And then people like CSO had to go and fight for the budget, which they got less money that they had from previous years. Now, when y'all go to the fashion shows and Miss CSO pageants or other events, those events were, pretty spectacular. Now they have to work around like, how can we get these budgets? How can we do this? And plus with the rooms and everything, it's just hard. So coming from that question, what was the question again? I'm sorry. It's on my paper, that's right.
How has
what are the questions?
How has the budgeting cuts affected your ability to exist on this campus?
Thank you. So again, the ability of that is that we can't do a lot of things that clubs regularly do, and it's hard because we want to do so much things, but we can't. And then when it comes to a promotion or whatever, it's like it's like pulling I don't know, I can't talk for every single club, but it's like pulling teeth for people to come out. It's like pulling teeth from USGs. It's pulling teeth everywhere. You have, some clubs even go to you, Dr. Watson or Dean Eklund or Ms. Chambers, that he's like, we need money. We need to do something. I can't have support. USG's not showing me support. So it's hard. I believe that clubs have to either get money. I don't know what's gonna happen this year. We might even lose less money this year. So it's hard. That's all I gotta say.
Does anybody want to expound? Yeah, because they can hear some real salient points. So does anybody want to expound on what he's, thank you.
I'll just say, when it comes to budgeting, it's not transparent at all. I'm not a part of EOP. I'm Sally Mae funded. So I need to know. I need to know where my money goes, and it seems like I have to hire a private investigator to see where the money is actually distributed. I actually found out recently there's an ice hockey club on campus. Didn't know, but they get almost $100,000 in funding. And there's a group like Heritage who's out, trying to, a little group, trying to, really make some change and talk about health and stuff, and you're fighting for the $1,500 that they barely get. So I think there's clearly a discrepancy about who gets funding and who's important on this campus. And when it comes to budgeting and how much money, now I wouldn't expect a little group like Heritage to get $100,000, but the fact that they're just fighting to barely hold on to $1,500 is an issue. So the funding and I think the budgeting should definitely be public. It should be put out there to where every group gets a sheet to show, down the line, who's getting what, who's getting preference. So then we can all see. It shouldn't be some little folder, down somewhere on the website. That's not being transparent. And I think that's an issue that, BSU will be, fighting for, to make sure that everyone on campus gets a clear understanding about where their money goes to and how it is spent. So I think we definitely need to pick that up as an initiative, and hopefully we have a lot of support with that.
All right. Anybody else want to add on?
This is obviously a sensitive topic, but it's as we said at the outset, these questions are designed and come up with based on the priorities of what the students feel they need to talk about and what's going on campus. And this one, even though we dealt with it last for obvious reasons, elephant in the room, but it's probably one of the most important.
Y'all gonna know I'm an ASU by the end of this, but I'm an ASU. And I transferred because I transferred to Stony Brook. I transferred my junior year, and I'm currently in my senior year, so I just joined the ASU e-board. So I think Christian was mentioning it earlier about not really knowing who to go to for this. So I go to the president about everything. Like, okay, so what do I do for things that are in my job description that I don't know because I wasn't here since freshman year, so I don't know different offices. And one thing I know just from being on the ASU e-board this past semester or so is that it's really hard to put on all the programs, I think Zoe mentioned, it's really hard to put on all the programs that we need to put on with our budget, but then we're in constant fear that, okay, if we don't put this event on or put a number of events on, well then next year when such and such is president, she's gonna have even a harder time because they're gonna reduce her budget. So we're like fighting to keep up with the events that we need to put on or we want to put on with our budget, but then we're in constant fear that if we cannot make that happen, then we're leaving the club in danger for the next people who have to take over. So that's something I've experienced personally with this is my only experience with this whole, trying to figure out how to get things done with the budget. But I think what Dwayne said was very important in trying to, if we know where the money is going to, because the problem that happens that we don't know. So then rumors start like, oh, this club is getting so much, and that's really not the case. But if we don't know where our money is and how the money is being divided, then we leave space for these rumors to get around. But if we know exactly, like, hey, ASU is getting this much and such is getting this much, and we understand, okay, this club has been around for a while and they put on 15 events where we put on 10, so I understand where we're getting a little less than what they're getting. But we don't have access to that. So if we have access to that, then maybe it would be less tension and maybe it would be less finger pointing, well, you guys just don't think our club is important. Because honestly, it might not be that they don't feel like our club is important. It might be, if you read the paper, there might be a reason to why each club has the budget that they have, but we don't know that. So until we know that, then you're gonna have this constant we feel like you don't think we're important. If you want that to end, then you gotta give us what we need to say that that's not the case. But yeah.
Yeah, and I think you all touched on the aspect of transparency, and I'm kind of hearing some aspects of invisibility as well. But how can that be turned around in regards to the black clubs, learning about the rules and regulations that are comprised of USG and undergraduate student government. And how can that be a part of the whole unification of the black community here?
I think that just starts from the students getting up and demanding that they be heard, basically. You know, we can say as much as we want on this stage, but the work really has to be done when we leave. You know, when you go and you tell your peers, hey, there's an issue with our orgs and it's funding. There's an issue with USG and funding. I would like BSU to take that up as an initiative with funding and you know, being more transparent. But the students really need to unify. It's great to throw events, and it's great to have, you know, G-bodies. But there's another aspect to running an org, and I think as everyone knows. And, you know, coming together, that's the point where everyone needs to come together and say, you know, we're not just Cadence, we're not just ASU, we're not even just BSU. We're all a Stony Brook community, and when we need things done, we need to all come together. And I think that's something that is starting to be done. But when it comes to just, you know, getting things done, we all need to, you know, glue together as a collective and move forward. I think that's the only way things ever get done.
Okay. Do people need to run for office or something? Are there positions, and I don't know how it all works, but is that something that maybe is part of the solution as well? Black students becoming part of the USG. I guess I'm taking this from your question.
Yeah, people definitely do need to run for USG. And you know what it is? I think people are scared to run for USG because they feel that they won't have the support. They feel that if they run, and especially a black person, if they run and, you know, people see the pictures up there, like, oh, I'm not going. The regular Stony Brook community, like, oh, I'm not going to vote for him because I mean, Stony Brook, low key, is pretty racist, very low key. All right, if you was there at the small open forum back last semester, you heard from our voices that, you know, Stony Brook can get a little crazy racially, but I feel like when it comes to voting for people in USG, it's those people that was in USG telling the new ones, like, hey, you run, don't worry about it, I got you. You're going to get into the seats. But when somebody totally different wants to go run for USG, you won't find that support. And that's the person that we have to really go for. Like if I want to run for USG, which I know I can't, if I want to run for USG, who can I really count on? Who are my people? Who can I see get the vote? And a lot of Stony Brook don't vote for USG, right? There's low numbers. So if somebody that is black says Black Lives Matter, won't you think, you know what? You think like, I need to go vote for him because his mind is saying that, you know, our organizations matter, and there's a reason why they matter. They've been a staple in the Stony Brook community since the 70s. Some clubs have been united since the 70s. Why can't we do that? We gotta vote. We have to vote. We have to vote. We have to vote. I can't stress that enough. We have to vote. We have to have people run, and we have to vote. That's it.
I believe they call that organizing.
Yeah, I feel like one issue with that is just ignorance. It's plain and simple. We don't know. People don't know. That's why they don't run. I have no problem running. I would have ran anytime, but I didn't know where to go. Like, I didn't know where was I supposed to go to get on the ballot. Where was I supposed to go to join a party? You know, some people know people, and they say, "Oh, how'd you get that position?" "Oh, my friend introduced me." Well, can you introduce me? Like, that's kind of the way people need to think. But it's unfortunate that someone has information that allows them to reach success, but they don't share it with other people. And so there's no sharing. There's no my brother's keeper. There's no accountability at all for each other and wanting to help other people progress. It's just solely every man for himself a lot of times. And so I feel like that is one of the key issues. And so just to answer your question, people need to run, but they don't know how to run. And because they don't know how to run or they don't understand the system they're running for, they won't. They're scared.
No, I have no doubt that that's the case.
And I think to piggyback off Randy said, not to say that our lovely Stony Brook community is racist, but But to say that there needs to be more of a democratic process when it comes to voting. Like everyone should know in their solar account, hey, it's time to vote. Whether that means that they lock your account out if you don't vote or participate, or something like that. But there needs to be a more democratic process so that everyone knows that it's time to participate. You know, a lot of times people feel scared, but 7% of Stony Brook can be a large chunk if it's unified. The 7% scattered is, you know, minute numbers. So if we all come together and we say, hey, we want to push these candidates, we really want to, you know, put it on our Instagrams, put it on social media, it can get done. You know, things don't turn overnight, but if we keep hitting at it and we keep inching away, it can get done. I'm not saying we can be able to turn Stony Brook into a HBCU, but I think we can make it more fair and more democratic for everyone to succeed, not just the few that they want to, you know, bring along. So I think that's very important.
Okay, so what you got?
We want to be clear that racism is a thing in the world, and Stony Brook is in the world, right? You know, so we're not, you know, it's a systemic issue, and we're not immune to it, of course. But
I'm sorry. Yeah, with time. I was looking at the time, but I think that we want to kind of, after we talk about the solutions aspect of this part of the budgeting section, we also want to open up to the audience to ask questions. We have microphones on my right and on my left here, and so if you are interested in asking questions to the panel after this, or comment, you may do so by coming up to the microphone. Yeah.
So we can have sort of a town hall, I guess, kind of thing if people are so inclined. Before we do that, let's give a round of applause to all of our panelists. And I think that, I know I learned a lot listening and discussing these things. We don't, as it's been said, there hasn't been a mechanism to disseminate this kind of information. And I think I get the sense that that's starting to change. It's up to us, you know. We want to be the change we want to see in the world, and so you all have taken the first step, and so now we want to hear from folks who are gathered here to pose questions or comments. So, if you have one, please come on. Just don't be shy. Come on up. There's mics on either side, and listen. Let's not pretend we all don't know each other, okay?
Can everyone say their name as well, just so we can get to each other?
Yeah.
And make sure you please speak into the mic so we can hear you on the what's being recorded. Yep.
All right.
Hi everyone, my name is Patrice. I'm currently a grad student in the Africana Studies department, and I just had a couple of comments, solutions, kind of stuff. So anyhow, I'm gonna start at the issue of support. So I think as a whole, the view of unity is a little bit too linear. Especially the march. Everyone wasn't at the march. I wasn't at the march. There were professors in the department who weren't at the march, not because we didn't want to be there. We had no idea that it was going on. Unity is not the people who live in Roosevelt and West. Unity is everybody who attends Stony Brook, including commuters, et cetera, et cetera. So keeping that in mind going forward. In terms of space and programming, one suggestion I have, it's gonna sound funny, but I'm not trying to be, start on time. If people are having programs back to back, your program is from 8 to 8:50, someone else's is from 9 to 9:50, don't wait for a bunch of people to show up. Start at 8 so that people can leave if they have to leave early, 8:45, and have gotten the meat of the program. That's my next thing. Also, in terms of that Black Caucus, I think one of the issues is trying to do it in the summer. You should probably do it before you leave campus for summer break because, one, I work with facilities, and people put their reservations in earlier than the summer. And with the union closing, that's gonna be completely offline. You can't use that space anymore. There's only gonna be the SAC and maybe one or two other places. We're gonna have to find more creative ways to meet and do things. Maybe we don't have to meet inside, you know, one of the 5 rooms available in SAC. Maybe we can meet on the lawn in Stoller. There are kids throwing frisbees on Stoller steps. Surely you can have like a quick powwow at Stoller, right? Also, Yeah, that was the main thing. Also, I was going to say, in terms of budgeting, I do think that first of all, USG's budget is posted online. You guys need to look at that information. It shows the difference in budgets from last year to this year's budget, because I'm a part of GSO as well, and I noticed that their budget is completely online, including who they pay to run their offices and everything. You guys need to look at that and see where each club is getting their money from, because Dwayne's numbers come directly from that sheet. In addition, there's some issues with budgeting sometimes with what students want to get funding for. You don't need $10,000 worth of food. The university is also a business. If we're giving you $10,000 worth of food and you have a meal plan, you know what I'm saying? Like it sounds a little crazy, but it's a little extreme to everybody's always like food this, food that, and all the clubs kind of order from the same places, so you're just kind of throwing business at this one place for food. There's so much more going on than food at events. Lastly, I think besides having Black faculty advisors and such, which is great. And also, yes, you could say that, the white professor is not going to know your struggle, but they're supposed to know your struggle. They're supposed to be able to know what you're going through, not just having a Black professor, but a culturally sensitive professor who knows what you're going through. And that should also be advocated for as well, because then that excuses their ignorance. And it is ignorance because they just don't know. But then they have to come to the accountability of knowing, because, again, your dollars are their salaries. So because they don't know doesn't mean that now we're going to hire 20 Black professors and put the complete burden of them taking care of the entire Black community on campus just because we think that they should be better equipped to do so. I'm out.
All right.
That was more than 2 cents. We got a lot there.
Okay, we're gonna go right, left. Yep. Thank you very much.
Should we comment first, chance to respond first before moving?
Oh, I don't know if you needed to finish with that. I thought she just dropped the microphone right there. Okay, yeah.
Well, no doubt she did, but I think
Okay.
you want to have a
Yes.
I just wanted to say, I definitely think a lot of your points, none of them sounded crazy. I think all of them are very valid. But to your last point about professors, that was one of the initiatives that BSU brought up, is that if we're paying you, again, Sally Mae funds me, I'm paying you, you should be sensitive enough to the things that, I encounter. So a lot of the insensitive, microaggressive comments shouldn't be happening, especially on a college campus. And thanks to Dean Eklund, Dean Chambers, Dean Watson, and the president, they are looking for ways to implement racial sensitivity throughout the whole campus. Something very similar to New Haven, something very similar to the Brookhaven program, to where everyone has to take part in cleaning up their act, or they're reflecting on themselves. So I think that's something that's very important, not just putting the accountability on the next professor, but the great professors that we have here understanding that you have to do your job better. So I definitely agree with that.
All right.
Hi, I'm Sam. I'm gonna go in order of what I heard so far. So when it comes to like G bodies and stuff, there's always gonna be conflict if you're having things on the same day. And unfortunately, but realistically, a lot of people are gonna go to whatever sounds more scandalous or whatever has food at that moment. So I think it would be good to like agree within each other as the orgs that do discussions, like ASU and CSO and stuff like that. The ones who do discussions, it would be good to have alternating weeks in the same room. So 1 week you have one club, the next week you have the other club. And then that way you don't have to divide the audience having it the same day at the same time in rooms next door to each other. It would be like, next week at an announcement, whatever, next week in this room, it'd be so-and-so, you should come out, we support each other. It would be easier to have that a larger audience and not have to fight for the timing and fight for more booking space if we're all booking the same room on different days. And the next thing I was gonna say, when it comes to budgeting, I do know that like the hockey team gets a lot of money, but that's because they get a lot of awards. They win almost all of their games. They travel and they pay to practice another place. So they need the money for the rink because we don't have a rink or we don't have a pool and all those other things that they need. But they're also bringing back money to the school. So the school, I feel like they divide their budget based on who's bringing back things in. A lot of these like the Asian orgs and some of like the Indian orgs and stuff like that, they have ticketed events that sell out completely. Like they have lines that go all the way into the lobby. So they're bringing back money to the school. So the school is like, you know, last year your show sold out, so you deserve the money that you want back. And they have food at their events, but it's never like a thing where there's so much food, but there's only a little audience. So I think that's another thing we have to think about, like consider, are you bringing stuff back to the school? At the end of the day, it's a business. So if you want it to be that way, we have to think of broader events that we can get more people to come to and like diversify our audiences at our events. Another thing I was gonna say with the student government situation, I feel like a lot of the times we feel intimidated because we look at the demographics of the school and we're like, oh, I'm black, so I'm only 6%, so all those other people are not gonna vote for me just because, you know, this may be my dilemma. Because I know of people who have had the good wills and good intentions for the school, like they wanna fix the community and they wanna stand up for the school, but they just fear that this one aspect, this one characteristic of themselves, this one trait is going to be the thing that makes people not want to listen to their points and stuff like that. And I feel like that's a thing we need to get over, but we also need to support each other and let them know that, you know, even if you run and God forbid it's a thing where people don't want to take you seriously because of your race, at least we're here for you. And I feel like we think that the things that USG has to do are so like catered to such a different audience that we don't have to put in our part into it. Like we think that they're not gonna pay attention to our issues anyway, so why should I even vote for anybody? And that's an issue. So I'm done.
Thank you. Oh, responses? Okay, next.
Hi, I'm Perla. I'm a sophomore here at Stony Brook. So what I want to touch on is the word unity was thrown around a lot today. And I think a big part of unity is being inclusive. So there are certain things that go on in Stony Brook, and not all of the black community is aware of it. So for example, we left, and during the winter break, the Black Student Union was created. Now, I'm one of the students, I would love to have the opportunity to be involved, but certain things are not advertised. I didn't know there was a Black Student Union being created. So I come back and it's already created, and I feel really left out. So I think I feel the same way that a lot of other students feel. And you can't have unity if everyone is not aware. Also, the word ignorant was thrown around. Was that on stage? I'm sorry, I'm shaking. I hate public speaking. But
take your time.
We can't. It's not that we're ignorant. We just don't know. You know, like I know Jody sent out the message or email for the March for Mizu. If it wasn't for a friend of a friend of a friend, I would have never known. So I think it has a lot to do with circulating, and it goes back to communication. And we all have social media, so there's so many ways to let out a message of events and just things people can be involved in if you try hard enough to make sure that it reaches everyone that it can reach. Even this panel today, you know? I question how was it put together? We have some great people, but there could have been so much representation on stage also.
I definitely thank you for your comment. I have to take responsibility as president of BSU that we have not advertised the way we should have, but we're an interim BSU, so we're not recognized by USG, and we're just starting. So we just formed our e-board. So within the process of expanding and getting out to the public, we have been very slow. So I do apologize as president, I take responsibility for that. But I think you've definitely brought up a lot of valid concerns that if you are a commuter or if you're not a part of EOP or you're not a part of certain groups, you do feel left out. And I think that is the role of the BSU when we expand out to reach those people who aren't, in the cut. And I have to say, living at Brookhaven and being a transfer, if I didn't really push myself into those spaces, I would be in the same predicament you are. So I definitely think your feelings are valid, but I vow as the president of BSU, we will do a better job of that. And I think all the orgs take responsibility in getting out and getting new people in. So I definitely thank you for your comment.
Yeah, I hope before we leave tonight, I hope before we leave this evening, information can be exchanged. This is how it happens, You have a lot of potential members here in the room, and so we do thank you for that input and constructive criticism.
Go ahead.
I just want to say one thing about what you were saying. Perla, you said your name was? Just about the representation. I'm the co-host, so I helped create this event. When me and Randy had this event in mind, we wanted the representation. We wanted boys, we wanted girls, we wanted people from all different walks of life to be here, because we understand that not necessarily just because it's Black History Month, it's supposed to be the state of the Black Union, that doesn't affect everybody. So that was our intention. We did reach out to all people that we could get. And this is who responded, this is who was consistent, this is who said, okay, I'm actually going to do this. So I just don't want to make it seem like just because this is what you see here that the effort wasn't put in. And that was definitely something that we considered. We wanted to happen when thinking of this event.
On the same note, as far as like membership and how things are created, like they said, this is an intern BSU. I was one of the people that said, like, I know a lot of people who are active and have strong opinions about being Black and things and their experience on campus, which could contribute well to what this group is trying to do. But as far as we needed to just form. It needed to be, there needed to be something to join. You can't take a bunch of people and create something. Something has to be created from a small seed and then it grows. So it just happened that, unfortunately, but it just happened that we came together and we were able to talk and we were in agreement with our thinking, and that's how we were able to establish the BSU. But I know there's many people that can be a part of it, and that's something that I was trying to look forward to as far as increasing the membership as well as what members would actually do rather than just being a named member. Like, what would you be your contribution? So you can't make like 40 e-board seats or something like that. So it's just that it just needed to form first, be established, and then we'll grow, and then it will be like something to come.
Yeah, I just want to have one quick comment. As far as just participation campus-wide, and I know you mentioned it as well, like reaching, who we're reaching when we say we're reaching out to people who are reaching out. We have to understand that, like, there's no email. It's not like we can put an email and say we're going to reach out to every single Black and Hispanic person on campus. So a lot of things really happen word of mouth. And it's like, okay, I know I'm a part of 7 GroupMe groups, and I have email, like, you know, I happen to be on an e-board, so I have an email list for this set of people. So I'm going to use my resources to reach as many people as I can. And that's honestly the only way to reach people. So, that's the only way to reach people. So it's unfortunate you really can't, we're missing people who want to be a part, but then it's up to, in the same light, you have to put yourself out there. So I can't reach someone who isn't putting themselves out there. And they may want to join, they may not join BSU, but one may want to be a part of whatever it is that's going on. But the only way I can reach you is if you're putting yourself out there, because like I said, there's no other way to get in contact with people. So I understand it, I completely understand where you guys are coming from, especially it touched home. She's a graduate student. I have no connection to graduate students. But there are definitely graduate students who may have done undergrad here, or maybe even didn't do undergrad here, but had the same experiences. So that's something we need to think about. How are we going to reach people who may not be involved in the clubs and organizations that we're a part of, but also making sure that as students we're involved in things. Sorry, I'm done.
Oh, no, not you.
No, we were talking on the side.
I just want to say quickly also BSU. BSU will be holding a forum soon to where students can come out and voice their concerns, and then BSU can kind of take them and segue into administration and stuff like that. So I have to admit we have been sluggish. We will be moving forward to opening up to the general public to hear your concerns and then holding events. We will be doing that very soon. So word to mouth, please pass it along.
Real quick, just to say, something like this is the platform so that people who are not, good at public speaking or open or like to present themselves too much, that they can have a group that can help them come out of their shell and just develop as an individual. So that's something that I see as far as like.
And as far as getting your foot in the door, I'm a freshman. I came here, I didn't know anyone. I think I had like 2 people that I knew prior. Coming into this university, it's going to the involvement fairs and putting your email on the emailing list. And those they're annoying emails, but I wouldn't be a part of CSO without those emails. I wouldn't know about even other clubs like the LGBT club, I wouldn't know about the club if I didn't go to the involvement fair and like put my name on the email. And I still get those emails even if I don't attend the events. Like, it's helpful. And then you also get the information, like the continuous information of what's going on. But you have to go to the involvement fairs. You have to go and like talk to everyone, because I'm not just in Black orgs. I've done SBU TV. I've done other orgs that aren't just Black orgs, and it's kind of like putting yourself out there, which it means that you have to talk to people. Not to say that we shouldn't be talking to you too, but it's a give and take as far as that goes.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. That goes for faculty and staff too. You know, I always have to step out there. I teach in Africana studies, but people don't always know. Those of you who know me know that I have, come from racially mixed background, but people don't always know that. That's not a given. So I always have to step out there and hey, introduce, get involved, and it won't happen otherwise. It really just does not happen otherwise. You have to take that initiative wherever you're coming from. So many different ways to be Black, so many different ways to identify. We have so much diversity on this campus. I think we have a chance for one last.
Oh,
my
she was
fault.
first.
This
That was
way.
my bad.
Excuse
Yes,
me.
sir.
Ladies first. Go ahead.
I've been told.
Excuse me.
Okay, well, that's actually a good segue because my question is about the ladies, and anyone can answer because I would like to hear some answers from the women on the stage, but I'm sure the men, you probably have female friends, so you could probably answer this too. What I would like to know is, what are some issues that you think are specifically facing Black women on this campus, and how are some ways that you would like to see those resolved?
My man sat down. He said,
I'm good.
oh, man.
Okay, I guess I'll delve into that. That's a pretty loaded question.
I saw that coming.
Okay, well, if you had to name like 3. 30? No, 3?
We
If
do
you
have
had
to be
to,
on
I could name 30.
if you had to name,
we don't have that
three
time.
issues that you would like to see resolved for Black women on this campus.
Um,
Yeah, let's stick to Stony Brook campus.
Okay. Definitely just something that's always been a trend historically, not just on this campus, not just in New York, but across the world, is how women are treated. There can sometimes be certain situations where people can be disrespected or harassed or talked to in a way that's just not okay. And we talk about racial sensitivity, but because I'm intersectional and I'm Black, but I also am a woman and I identify as a woman, there are certain things that affect me that people have to be aware of, and it's not just a Black issue, it's also a gendered issue. So that would be one of the major ones, just how Black women are treated. But I don't think that's just a campus issue. I think it's just something that I've seen on campus and that I've experienced on campus because of who I am. And then also, I would say, I don't know if this is not just a women's issue, but just, I'm bisexual. But for me, that means that I do run into different issues as far as the way that I'm treated again because of how people see me, because of my sexuality, and because I'm not in the closet, because I'm very open about who I am. People feel that they can say certain things or do certain things that are really just not okay. And that would be probably one of like the biggest issues that I've faced here, just the ignorance and just like it's disrespectful, the things that people have done or said or like insinuated. So I would say that's another issue that I faced as a Black woman here on campus. And probably the last issue would be, I feel like I have to choose this wisely, it's my last issue. My last issue would be just emotional and mental support, as far as like me going to CAPS or me talking to people about what I'm going through, because of how Black women are seen as people who are just strong and who are just matriarchs who aren't really allowed emotion or aren't really allowed the time to not be okay. it's sort of like when I go to CAPS, I'm not seen as somebody who's like dealing with serious issues or dealing with something that is turning up my life. Like because I'm a black woman, because we're seen as the superwoman, the person who takes all these issues, and we're totally fine having all these things on our back because that's my stereotype or how people see me. My issues aren't taken seriously as far as like my emotional issues or my mental issues or my family issues. So I would say those are probably the 3 biggest things.
Just piggybacking off of that, definitely emotional and a mental support. I think in terms of figuring out like who to go to when, like this is a very important time in everyone's life, but especially like in a woman's life that you're growing up into a woman. We come in as freshmen, we're young ladies, and when we leave, we're at that age. And in order to have that transition, like away from family, away from home, there are a lot of things that can happen in terms of socially, in terms of in your classroom, that if you don't have that support, you can go all the way left. And if you don't have, and like I said, if you don't have that support, all the potential that I think all these women have that are in this room and who aren't in this room can go completely sideways. Like you've seen it in your high school, just in people that didn't go to college and what they're doing now, where they're working now. And then people who are in college, if you don't have that same support, like people get pregnant in college, that happens. But if you don't feel comfortable going to your professor saying, hey, well, I'm pregnant right now, so I can't go to this class anymore. I have to go to these doctor's appointment. All the professor sees right now is that she's not attending my class. There's nothing there that I can do to help her. But if you had someone that you can go to that can also relate that information to, not to say that CAPS isn't something that's important, but if they had more of like not like a peer person, but guess people would like definitely like in that area. Cause like the first thing that I think of when I have an emotional problem is not go to CAPS. It's someone that I've already known. It would be to you, Dr. Watson, because I've known you since I was a freshman, but that's because we have that relationship. I don't have a relationship with someone in CAPS, and I think in this pivotal time in a woman's life, they need that support because if, like I'm continuing to say, if you don't have it, all that potential is completely wasted.
Yeah, I call myself a feminist. I've done a lot of research in that. I definitely think one of the big things is that there's a lack of a black woman presence within the administrative and staff on this campus that you can go to. I feel like a lot of times when they say women's issues, they kind of just paint it with a broad brush. But a black woman's issues is different than a white woman's issues. They're still women, but their experiences are different. I think Jody has seen me go off in a G body or two when it comes to women's. But definitely I would say that there needs to be more. I think men need to take more responsibility for their actions on campus and how they treat and how they perceive women. I feel like a lot of times women are constantly subjected to being objectified, to being turned into a material, to be extracted for a man's pleasure, and that shouldn't be so. That shouldn't be so, and that's not something that's being discussed. So I definitely think, a black woman's issue should definitely be, focused on, because it's definitely not enough. So I definitely see why you asked that question and why it should be brought up.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
In regards to what Zoe said about pregnant women on this campus, I'm actually a product of this campus. My mom graduated from here in 1997 in May. I was born on June 17th, 1997. So wow. She was pregnant her entire last semester here at, actually last year here at Stony Brook. And a story that she always tells me, because she thinks it's funny now, it's been almost 20 years, but she had a professor that did not understand that she had an appointment, a medical appointment that she could not move at any other time. She couldn't make that appointment at any other time, but it also made her late to class. And she tried to explain to her, like, I'm pregnant, I have to go to see my doctor. I have to do that. But without that understanding, like she said that was the one class that she didn't do as well, and because she was always late to this class because she had to make this appointment because she was pregnant. So I mean, it's a 20-year-old story. Well, I'm about to be 19, so 19-year-old story. But it's definitely something that speaks to exactly what Zoe's talking about. Those are women's issues, and we know people get pregnant. That's something that happens. People get through college and graduate college, and having children is a part of being a woman for some women. So it's definitely something that needs to be addressed and you need to be able to find support for that. So.
Quick plug, next week, Friday and Saturday, it's the Black Women's Expo. Friday. Next Thursday and Friday, Black Women's Expo. So all y'all sisters out there, definitely go to that. Sam will give you more information, but it's definitely a great event that I think, yeah, brothers can go too, but I'm trying to get it out there for the Black sisters, you know what I'm saying, my brother?
Really quickly, I know we don't have time. I also want to say the last thing, just to answer your question, would be, I know I deal with it, being labeled as angry or always coming across as aggressive, especially when you have leader. I'm looking into the crowd. I know a lot of you guys are have e-board positions, and you're the one that has direct contact with people in USG, and you're going to the SAC to book your events and have discussions about why you don't have a room and why you don't. So if it's a Black woman that's going to the room and she's upset that she booked a room and she doesn't have it, now she's a Black angry. Like, why is she so angry? And that's something I personally have to deal with when I'm walking into a situation I know I'm upset. I'm 6'1", so that's the first thing that always comes to my mind. And secondly, I'm Black, so I have to know, okay, I know you're upset, but right now, you're coming off as really aggressive. And I feel like regardless of your height or my height, I feel like Black women on this campus walk around with that in the back of their head. They're always, okay, how am I coming off? And that's before you even say anything to anyone, you're automatically, when they see you, it's always like, okay, and you know that. So your approach is always, you have to calm down, your approach is 10 times softer because you're assuming that someone is thinking you're gonna come off, you're gonna start yelling when that's really not the case, and that's just the perception of what Black women are. And again, that's not just at Stony Brook campus, but that's something I have dealt with at Stony Brook campus. I'm sure you guys have dealt with as well, trying to deal with booking your rooms or whatever the situation may be.
I feel like in some ways we're coming full circle. This is the kind of stuff we've talked about in Africana studies. Do we have time for another?
I think
or are
we
we
out of time.
Are we?
So,
man sat down.
So
Did
I
you
would,
wanna?
Solutions? Okay, so that's why I want to wrap up with Zoe. Did you not?
Even if we don't have time to answer it, maybe you could just say.
Took the bass out of his voice. Like,
okay, so I'm Isaiah, and I'm a freshman. So I go to the involvement fairs, and it's usually, there's over 100 groups on campus. You can barely walk. So I think an important thing would be to have a separate type of event where it's just the Black orgs, because a lot of the Black students on campus don't really know that these organizations exist. And I think another thing is really publicity. I know Heritage, they post 4 or 5 times a week on Facebook when they're having an event. But there's some groups you wouldn't even know that they're having an event or that this organization even exists. So I think a venue where our students can come together and know, okay, well, I have a place where I can go would be very important. So, yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah. We made room for that.
I think, yeah. Well, just to let you know, on the 24th, there is going to be the involvement fair for the cultural organizations, and you will find a majority of African American, Latino orgs there as well.
While we're on the subject of events, can I just announce a couple things that AFS is going to be having that are part of Black History Month? 2 very good events. I think they'll be of interest to most people in this room. Next Wednesday, a week from today, Wednesday, February 17th, between 1 and 2 p.m., we're having Bakari Kitwana, who wrote a book called The Hip Hop Generation, which was very influential when it first hit. He's from Long Island. He's going to be talking on the topic of homoeroticism and homophobia in hip hop, a history of corporate media's mixed messages and interpretations. So he is well equipped to the task. We're going to be looking for folks to come to that in Humanities 1008. And then Tuesday, February 23rd, we have the New York City chapter of Black Lives Matter. New York City chapter of Black Lives Matter is going to be in the house here speaking. I think we have 3 members, I believe, coming to speak with us. That's Tuesday, February 23rd from 6 to 8 p.m., also in the Humanities Center. And bring your questions and this is a great time to make that critical connection between the activism happening on campus and what's happening in the city and across the nation in terms of Black Lives Matter. So we hope to, as we said, we have heard your requests, and Africana Studies we're doing a lot of new things this year, as you can see, and this is just the beginning, so we have a lot more coming up.
Oh yeah, another thing that's happening, actually right after this, is the Brothers of Phi Delta Psi Fraternity are having an event in Ballroom B. It's called Black Lives in America. And I'm sorry, Black Lives in Latin America. And it's talking about the island Hispaniola, where they have Haiti and Dominican Republic together. And it's gonna have a great conversation right after this. Wow. So they actually are showing the movie, and so by the time you get there, you should have a great discussion about some of the intersections that we actually talked about today. So it'll be a nice segue into talking about how to be more unified on campus. Next Wednesday, we're actually having our spoken word open mic night and Tabler Black Box Theater. We're still looking for people to perform and be contestants. So if you think you can, as they say, spit hot fire, or if you can, have a great oratorical skill, it's an opportunity for you to win 3 top prizes. And what we want to do is, even if you're not performing for a prize, we would love for you to take the time to be courageous to come out and perform. Last year was packed, and we had a great time, so we want to kind of duplicate that effort next week. Also, earlier in the day, that's I'm sorry, that's from 8 to 11 at night, but also on that particular day, no, I'm sorry, the 17th. Yeah, the 17th, on that particular day, we're having the grand opening for the Caribbean Soul Food Station that is actually in the Union. They're going to be having performances, music, I think some type of prizes and things like that. They also have a contest for people to actually name the Caribbean Soul Food spot something. But the fact that these people here on campus and on stage and your peers actually have fought for this, I think it's important that you guys come out for that. Now, the other thing is going on with Batari Katwan at the same time, but you can split your time. You can go to one thing, actually have somebody buy you maybe a to-go package, and you can bring that over to the AFS apartment, if you're allowed to have that inside the AFS library, all right? Make sure we get permission. But here's the thing, how do you split your time and how do you maximize your time?
That's the easy one. That's the easy one.
Okay, so we
all
can
of
make
these
sure
events, by the way, are on the website, right? For Black History Month, all of these things that we're seeing. If you didn't get everything down, please visit the website. It has all of these calendar events.
And it's very easy to go to the website. It is stonybrook.edu/ guess what? Black History. You don't have to put month on. Just put Black History and it'll pop right up. Okay, so please check us out. We have a lot of great events. Please come support. And yes, and Zoe's going to close us out. Yes, thank you all very much for your time, and we'll be here afterwards to talk.
I again want to say, as one of the co-hosts, thank you so much for coming out and participating in this event. It was a long time coming, a lot of sweat and mind and just a lot went into this event. So I'm just very grateful that you took the time out of your schedule to come support this event tonight. I was basically going through certain things that me and Randy came up with, other people came up with certain solutions that we found to for the topics that we were talking about. But I just want to let you all know that this is just a starting point of a longer conversation of a lot more work that we need to do. If you didn't necessarily agree with what was said, or if you didn't get to say what I said, I encourage you to do more work in your community and more work in our Black community to make our Black experience better. It's clear from everyone now, from the panel that we went to talk about, that our Black experience or our Latino experience or our experience in general at Stony Brook University isn't the best, and we want it to be better. So I'll encourage you to all to continue to have this conversation and enjoy the rest of your night and the rest of Black History Month. Thank you.
Let us in as opposed to supporting us for 4 years through college. So I think that's something that we're lacking at Stony Brook, but Stony Brook isn't the only institution that's lacking that support. So emotional support, I go to EOP. Financial support, I go to EOP. But everyone isn't EOP, unfortunately. So everyone doesn't have the connections that, or like the relationships that I have. So what happens to my fellow students who don't have EOP, who do they feel they are comfortable going to?
Okay.
Hello, thank you everybody for coming. My name is Christian Cole, and actually Jody, like she said, I'm actually not an EOP student, so I actually ask myself those questions every day, like who do I go to, who do I turn to, you know, I need support, I have a question. So initially my support comes from home. My mother, I'm fortunate to have a good parent, as well as my sister who's in the audience today. So if I need advice, I am fortunate enough to ask those two resources. But now on campus, looking around, really, that question is difficult to answer. Who do you talk to? A lot of times you go to the office and your number, your ID swipe, you know, you go in and then it's your turn when, and then you step up, what do you need? I don't know. I'm a freshman. I just got here. I just left high school. I'm now initially making decisions on my own. What do I do? And so I feel like as far as support, there needs to be a stronger focus on building individuals. And so when it comes to support, the first place I would think about is programs that focus on that, such as SOB. So I'm a member of the Student African American Brotherhood, and something that I joined my spring semester of my freshman year, and I noticed that a lot of things I needed, I was able to ask the upperclassmen that were there. And so I feel like the initial support should come from our fellow students, our fellow Stony Brook students. And the only way that you're able to connect in that level, because you know the academic program here is very rigorous, and so a lot of times it's difficult for us to make friends in our classes, and as well as it's always easier to make friends with people that look like you. I don't want to say that you should limit yourself to that population, but that's where your initial comfort zone is, and then you slowly take steps to step out of that comfort zone. And so programs such as well as EOP, they help build that initial community, and then you're able to feel like, okay, I can move out, I can speak to other people. And so that's what did it for me as far as that program. So joining SOB as well as C-STEP, which is another program. But, anyone else?
We also just want to emphasize that there's a lot of questions, and you know, some of you may want to choose and respond to different things. If this one moves you, then by all means feel free to respond, and we have plenty of questions here.
Thank you again for coming out. I'm Dwayne. I'm a transfer student. This is actually my second semester on campus. Luckily they had ADV 101, which actually one of the advisors are actually here today. But I have to say, if you're a commuter, live at Brookhaven, or if you're just a new student here, you can easily get lost in the tracks and you can slip through. Being at Brookhaven, which is an outside residential hall, which is 30 minutes away, where they house the transfers who want to stay on campus, I've seen probably at least 10 people, maybe like 5 to 10, who haven't returned. Because there's not enough attention given to them. So while I've kind of found my home in the African Studies department, there's definitely a lack of support for a lot of students. Unlike myself, I actually went out to, search for those opportunities, but for a lot of students, it's just not there. So I think that's definitely an issue at Stony Brook.
Yeah, that's actually a perfect segue to the next question, and you can keep it flowing. As I said, we can kind of, as opposed to having everybody answer each question, we can kind of kick it back and forth. And if you feel, I'm sure as we go along, there'll be questions that people will have to wrestle the mic from you and all that.
Something out there, and that was one of the first victories that we had coming from the Ms. Youth March. After that was the start of the Black Student Union. Now the Black Student Union came together after the Ms. U March, and it was a few students that came to that one night, that one Wednesday night in the AFS library, which I was a part of, and a few people on the panel were a part of too. And together we created the Intramural Black Student Union, which I'll read just a real quick snippet of what of the union is that we will serve as a liaison, promoting activities of interest as well as cultural and educational beliefs to the black student body. We're not here to step on CSO or ASU's foot. We're here to be inclusive to one another. And after that, President Stanley will release shortly a revised document on how to bring more diversity into Stony Brook University, which will pretty much touch the aspects of hiring faculty and staff of color and many other factors that will come into Stony Brook. And now here with the State of the Black Union. But with all these positives comes issues that we have also faced. And I won't touch on it right now, but we'll touch on it when the panel comes on. But my question to you all, my brothers and sisters, is how secure are we in the black community? Are we united in the sense that we're looking for each other's back? If I'm in trouble, would you have my back? When it comes to creating events that will entertain us, is it contradicting somebody's educational event? If I have an event that is teaching about police brutality, but yet there's also a banquet going on at the same time, how can we work that each other out? Even when black student leaders has to go into Senate hearings and USG to fight for their budget so that way their clubs that have been a staple in Stony Brook history and the black community, that they won't disappear, like a few clubs that have, unfortunately. This is where we'll explore tonight. This is where we'll argue about. This is where we'll be heard about. This is where we come together and figure out what can we do to better ourselves in Stony Brook. You guys are witnessing history tonight, and we're gonna make a change tonight. Are we confident to say that the State of the Black Union is strong? Thank you. Now introducing to the stage my co-host, Zoe Sumner.
Good evening, everyone. Like he said, my name is Zoe Sumner, and I'm a junior here at Stony Brook University. I'm going to be introducing our lovely panel for this evening. First up, we have Jody Iyalekwe. Jody Iyalekwe is a senior and a business major here at Stony Brook University with the finance specialization. She's currently the cultural officer for African Student Unit and a member of the Diversity Professional Leadership Network. Next up, we have Christian Cole. Christian Cole is a sophomore with a major in health science and aspiring to be a pediatrician. At Stony Brook University, he is in the AIDS Peer Education Program, the vice president for Roosevelt Quad Council, a member of the Student African American Brotherhood, the Collegiate Science Technology Entry Program, and a Diversity Professional Leadership Network student. Next is Dominique Wolf. Dominique Wolf is a first-year multidisciplinary studies major studying women's studies, Africana studies, and sociology. She is currently a public relations officer for the Interim Black Student Union and a member of the Caribbean Students Organization. Dwayne Moore is a junior sociology major with a minor in Africana studies. At Stony Brook University, he is the PRO of Heritage and the president of the Interim Black Student Union. We are honored to have two moderators for our panel this evening, Dr. Zebulon Maletsky and Dr. Jarvis Watson. Dr. Zebulon Maletsky is an assistant professor for Africana Studies and History, and Dr. Jarvis Watson is the assistant dean of multicultural affairs. Please, can we have a round of applause for our panelists?
Good evening. Good evening, peers, faculty, staff, and friends. My name is Randy Ferguson, and tonight I will be one of your hosts alongside with Zoe Sumner for the 2016 State of the Black Union. Now, some people might have asked, why did you name, why is this called State of the Black Union? And the reason why I named it because, I thought it sounded pretty cool, to change it up a little bit instead of saying Unity Forum. But the reason why me, Jarvis, Dr. Zebulon Molesky, and Zoe have decided to rename it because we wanted to show unity and a sense of ownership that the black community is necessary, that the black community is necessary in Stony Brook University. We all sitting here in one accord because we know that we have power, we have the voice of Stony Brook University. And if we're not here, Stony Brook University isn't Stony Brook University. Can you feel me? And also to let the community know that we are a powerful community and that these are the things that we have to, that we did more things that any other schools hasn't even done. So that's definitely a proud statement that I can say basically here, boasting. So it is an important event that you guys are sitting here, and I thank you guys for coming out and sitting on these chairs, even though there can be more people here. But knowing that you guys are here, you are going to be educated. You are going to be uplifted. You're gonna feel some tension that you think things should be done. But knowing that this is going to be influential, and that's the reason why we named this. So, and for this year only, and maybe next year, the State of the Black Union. Now, let's look at the positives that the black community has done in the past 2 years. In 2014, we had Black World revamped, and we had the March for Ferguson. And we got your six that was started by Deron Newman, that went pretty good. A lot of people took pictures and showed it a sense that back in 2014, there was only 6% of African Americans in Stony Brook University. And we showed that number to really symbolize saying that even though we got 6%, we're still a powerful force on campus and that nobody can tear us away. We could still do what we had to do from that. And with the Ferguson March, that was one of the first many marches that we have done here in Stony Brook and really took a significant hold in the Stony Brook community. Now in 2015, we had the Black History Month, Black History Month from last year, and we had a lot of significant speakers come out, such as Frederick K. Brunston, Kevin Powell, that did the Unity Forum here last year, and we also had Savon Glover that came out to Starlet Center to perform. And those events really helped change the way the black community was saw in Stony Brook. And also what we learned from that, we kind of took things to a whole nother level, in my opinion. And from after that, we had two elected black women from USG that you guys have voted for, and their names are Chrisley Zamora and Chanela Obrenio, sorry if I mispronounced your name. Those two women have really solidified a way that USG is now run, and we have color in the office, because before then we didn't have a lot of people of color in the USG offices. Now we do. So that really signifies the black community here in Stony Brook. After that, we had hashtag SBU for Ms. U. And now basically, some people here that were sitting here was at that march back in November, and that really catapulted the black community in Stony Brook to a whole high another level, which came about many factors that Stony Brook wanted to change for us and that we had our voice in, and we was damn sure that we was gonna get these changes started. So first of all was the Caribbean food station that is right now in the Union. The grand opening is next week Wednesday. A lot of people was complaining, like, why don't we have food that we had back home? Now here in Stony Brook, all we had to do is eat wraps and pizza and sushi and a lot of food that we don't like, you know. But now we have some.
Good evening, everybody. We want to welcome all of you here and thank you for gathering with us. And we see that people continue to trail in as the evening goes, and we hope more will join us. But at the outset, we want to emphasize that it's not about numbers, it's not about quantity, it's about the folks who are here with us. And we can do much with small numbers if the people who are in attendance are inclined to do so. And so we really thank you for making the time this evening. We see more people continue to come in, for making the time to be with us this evening. I want to turn it over for a moment to my colleague and my co-chair, my worthy constituent,
Yes, sir.
Associate Dean Jarvis Watson.
Thank you, Dr. Molesky. Did everybody give it up for Dr. Molesky? All right. Also want to recognize the Africana Studies Department who is here with us right now. And I think we really couldn't have the type of impact with our student population if it wasn't for the marriage between the Office of Multicultural Affairs and Africana Studies Departments, which actually goes back about more than 20 years in regards to its strength on this particular campus. I also come to you not as a dean of students, one of the assistant deans of students. I also come to you as an alum to talk about the progression of what's been happening with African American students at Stony Brook University. We never had a situation where we were able to kind of utilize the resources that we have here on campus to talk to the bigger population. We were always at some type of adversarial type of connection with the student body. But then after a while, we started to realize we needed to do things a little bit differently. So we started to formulate, we started to organize, and that's when you started to have more diversity within some of the leadership that you have on campus. And so I think what we have is just another version of that happening right now. And I think that they should get a round of applause for the amount of progress they've made thus far. So please give it for our panelists that we have right now. Okay. So what we're going to do, Dr. Molesky and I are going to kind of go back and forth asking questions to the panel. And these questions that we're asking come from the students, for the students, by the students. And we want to make sure that we get their voices correct. We want to make sure we get their words correct, but like there's nothing better than asking the natural source or the first source to make sure that you understand where everyone's coming from. And like I said, Dr. Molesky, I think, eloquently kind of stated the fact that even though the numbers may not be where they are, the right people are in this room right now. So being that is, if you know that somebody should be here right now, definitely text them because we're going to be here for a little bit. There's definitely enough information that is going to be shared. We also want to thank the Wang Center for having us here today, as well as Bill Cusick and his staff. Are you waving your hands? I said they're waving their hands in the back. So we just want to make sure we give acknowledgement to them because it is a community and a family. So without further ado, we're going to kind of break this up in 3 different parts. One about the support that African American students, Latino students have on this campus, the budgeting aspects, as well as the programming that goes on throughout the campus lifetime and lifestyle. So we want to start with the support aspect of where the Black student, I guess, union or community is on campus. So I'll start with the first question. Where do you feel your support comes from as a Stony Brook University student leader or student in particular? I'm not sure who wants to start off with that question.
I guess I'll start. My name is Jody, again, for everyone. Where does my support from? I'm an EOP student, so if I have a problem, any issues, my first stop is the EOP office. With that being said, there's still other individuals on campus that I know I can go to if I need anything. Typically, it's the people that look like me those are my first go-to people if I need help. My general support at Stony Brook comment would be I feel there are a lot of universities who accept students of color. You get in, but don't realize that accepting us isn't the only thing. There's either educational gap, there's a financial gap, so accepting us isn't, I feel like they're gold.
But we know that the research tells us that for students of color in college, having a role model, having a faculty connection, an administrator that, as someone said, that looks like you, in reference to students, having administrators or faculty that also look like you, also play a role in this more recent season of activism on campus. We hear constantly students renewing that call and saying, we need more faculty administrators that reflect us, that look like us, that come from where we come from. How would you rate, where we are at Stony Brook on that score? And I'll just sort of read the question as written. How different do you think the connection with faculty/administrators would be if there was an increase in Black and Latino professionals on campus?
I could talk about that. Again, my name is Randy. Real quick, for show of hands, who's from the city? All right, who's from Long Island? All right, anybody from out of state? All right, cool. So, somebody that from the audience, who's from the city? Teachers, are they primarily people of color or primarily white? Color, right? From Long Island, who are your teachers primarily are? Some are white, some are colored, depending on which county you live in. So basically, Suffolk County is like primarily white. Now it's always primarily people of color. Agreed? All right, and then people from out of state, primarily color or white? White, interesting. Okay. So here's my thing. Stony Brook, in a general aspect, is doing the right way of how teachers should be presented, professors should be presented in America. But when it comes to people of color who lived in the city, we're more generic, more approach to seeing people of color. And I think that because I'm from the city too, so when I see a white professor, I'm like, whoa, I'm not sure I'm gonna talk to him, I'm not sure I'm gonna, be around him like that. But when it comes to a person of color professor, I'm like, I'm gonna be with him all the time. I'm gonna talk to my man Zeb or talk to Dr. Walters. I'm more comfortable around them. So in a sense, yes, students of color do need a professor that looks like them so that way they can feel more comfortable going to that professor and just talking about life or jobs or the reason why they're in that career. So Stony Brook is not doing a good job with getting that, but hopefully with the president coming out with his revision of diversity, that he'll push for more support of professors of color.
Jody?
I would just say, just in addition to what Randy said, besides feeling comfortable in a classroom, I feel like we need more professors, professionals, faculty members of color, because for motivational reasons. I don't want to, yes, I'm comfortable if I walk into a classroom, my professor is black, but at the same time, if I'm walking into a classroom, I'm a finance major. Everyone in my class is a white male. So if I'm walking into a classroom and my professor is an African-American female, then I know I can, obviously I know I can do it if I'm in the classroom, but I have that extra push that I can do it because the person that's teaching the entire class looks like me. And I can say the same for a lot of my friends who are in the medical field. If they walk into a classroom and they see African-American female or male as their teacher, that gives them the push, if they can do it, I can do it, which is something we should already have in our mind. That should be a mindset you should already have, but it doesn't hurt to have someone who looks like you teaching you, and that's really not the norm here. Especially I'm saying in certain majors, not the norm in certain majors. My major, at least.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with Jody. I'm an English major in the teacher certification program, so after I graduate, I'll be certified to teach 7th through 12th grade. And the majority of the teachers that I've had for English have been male and white. I was able to take one English class so far with a black professor. That was Dr. Tracy Walters. I low-key stalked her since my last class with her. Now she knows that. But because of those classes, that's where you're able to see, like Jody said, you're able to see people that have gone the route that you want to go and they are successful.